Thank you so much, everyone, for still staying with us. You're still watching AM Cafe on Impact Africa Television. We are moving on to another conversation entirely, and that is talking about agri prospects in Oyo State. And we know that the governor of Oyo State, Engineer Sheyi Makinde, has said that Oyo State is ready for agri-business, noting that since his administration has promised to expand the state's economy through agri-business, they will do all they can to turn farm settlements around. And this and other issues is what we shall be discussing this beautiful morning. We have a guest in the house who will be sharing his thoughts with us. He is a retired director, Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Olatunji Ojola. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. Let me start off this way. Do you think that the Oyo State government are on the right track?
Yes. When I listen to the news that the Oyo State government intends to open up or not as this, I said it's the right step in the right direction. The decision to take most people out of the streets, agriculture is actually the only thing. I've always said it from my own experience to that. Any government that does not take care of the citizens in terms of employment, in terms of engaging them, and agriculture is probably the first thing, is sitting on the time bomb. I really have to commend the present government because it appears as if I've seen so many governments in Oyo State. They have different orientations. But he probably just come on board to say, what can I do to make a difference? And that's agriculture. And I think it's the right step.
We know that in the southwest, agriculture used to be the mainstay. And coming to Oyo State, we used to have the cocoa house. We have so many lot of projects where we embraced agriculture. But with the look of things, we're not talking about agribusiness. How do you think we can translate these policies to implementation like it was done in those days?
Now, there are two phases there. There is the what you call the agriculture, which generally everybody outside thinks it is cultivation, production. But there is the other aspect, which is agribusiness. Agribusiness includes all the gamut of the value chain. You have to produce, you have to store, you have to market, you have to provide credit facilities, you have to guarantee minimum price. Something has to be profitable. And I'll tell you something. We used to we have a feeling that our farmers are just producing at subsistence level. They're in business. If a farmer knows that what I produced last year is more than what I'm getting this year, he probably looks elsewhere. Why? Because whether you like it or not, agriculture or any enterprise is business backed. You don't go into a venture where you don't get a return. So, but the focus right now is that we are slightly shifting towards just producing raw materials. We are not producing. What do you do after producing? You must process, you must add value, you must market, you must guarantee. Let me give you an example of SC cassava very well. You probably will have noticed that for a particular year, they will tell you that they call it okon. That means these pickups, 20,000 naira will fill it up. Everybody will go into it. The following year, you find out the thing collapses to 6,000 naira. They might not even buy. Why? Because there is no guaranteed minimum price for the farmer that if I produce, irrespective of what I produce, there will be a market for it, there will be a good price for it, then I'll be able to meet my commitments.
But we know that in Oyo State, we pride ourselves in food crops, where we have so many food crops, and we are blessed with so many research institutes.
Yes.
So this scenario that you've just painted, why are we suffering this when we have so many research institutes? What are they doing to intervene?
I was about to comment to that point. Oyo State alone is probably the only state in the country that has about 6 research institutes. You have the IR&T, so Rapid Research, More Plantation. You have CRANE, you have FRAME, Foreign Research Institute. You have NISPRI, Nigerian Store Products. You have IITA, you have ADPs. Let me be very honest with you. I've been to all those institutes. I can't remember the last time the Commissioner of Agric leaves his office to go to all those institutes. What can you do to help me? We have cocoa, we have oil palm in the southern part of Ibadan. Take Onuara, take Ladelu, take January. Those are the prime areas of cocoa in those days. Move up north, just slightly above Fiditi. You see them in those days where you have the old road. We are producing oranges along the road. Where are they now? They did not produce anymore because they can't store it, they can't process it. Move to Ogun. In fact, that's where I think the government is actually, that's the food basket of the state. What I'm saying is that there must be a deliberate government policy. When I say government, it's not the government alone. We have the Ministry of Agric.
I was coming to the policy aspect of it.
Yeah.
You know, we've had the government, for instance, the Makinde government, making a lot of commitment in terms of statement here. Now, looking at policies itself, he has talked about the Barakpa Erua road, that he was going to complete it.
Yeah.
Of course, we have issue Erua of these are yams. They are predominantly producers of yam. They harvest yam and the rest of it. He has good intentions. Is good intentions enough for some of these commitments that he has talked about? Like he's going to boost agriculture and the rest of it. Looking at Erua, where there is massive production of yam, how can this government, for instance, begin to look at policies that makes the export opportunities of some of this yam in terms of branding, in terms of ensuring that they get the standards they need to be exported to other parts of the country or even outside the country? What are some of these policies the government needs to be looking at? And of course, the implementation process of some of them.
Everything starts with good intentions, and that's where policy starts. We want to be self-sufficient. We want to have food security. We want to be able to produce enough to export. We want to guarantee minimum price. We want to increase. Those are policy aspects. Now you have to translate those policy aspects into implementable or implementations programs. How do we do it? There are two roles. Government has a very good role to play in terms of providing the necessary, what we call enabling environment. What is enabling environment? Infrastructure, roads, electricity, power. They must be able to give the farmers what they will need to at least take off. Credit, technology. Those things have to be in place. Then when we produce these things, who are going to be the off-takers? Before we go to export, you can only export when you produce virtually enough for your own needs and within the country. Oyo State, I think, is the third largest state in terms of population. Nigeria has about 200 million. So we have a market even in something internally. But for investors to come and say, I want to invest, agriculture has gone beyond 1 or 2 hectares. You must be able to bring in facilities that I want 10,000 hectares to produce yams. But where will I produce it? That's the role of government. What will link me up to those places? That's government.
You talked about government providing enabling environment.
Yes.
But another issue that came to my mind is the issue of climate change.
Yeah.
How is it affecting the farmers?
Climate change is affecting farmers in respect of their production systems. Now, let's take rainfall for example. You will know right now that it appears as if we have rain does not fall as much as before. When it does, it starts maybe a little bit early and suddenly stops. Some years back, farmers knew that there is what we call August break, a period in the year whereby you have some dryness. Now, I don't want to go into details. Before we have twice in a year, but now farmers have found out that suddenly the rain stops. That is the impact of climate change. That means the weather is getting warmer, rainfall is becoming more erratic and unpredictable. That is where government comes in. I'm very glad that Nigeria Meteorological
Agency,
has a major role in that one. They have what you call, they give you information about when rain will stop and when rain will start, cessation, and what you can do.
But the grassroots farmers, do they have access to this information?
That is where the role of the ADPs come in, agricultural development programs of each state government, and even the institutes. When farmers have, let's say they have cooperatives, they will be able to link up with those who are saying, when can I start planting my yams? Beyond which I shouldn't go ahead because you are not sure of what to call. So the institutions are there, but the only thing is that government now, you see I keep on mentioning government because there are some things a private sector man will not be able to do. You can't set up his own meteorological station. That is what government should do. But the government have that kind of information, they can now pass it.
You know, I was going to ask that, isn't government a continuum? Because talking about some of the things that Makinde has said, that he was going to complete the Barakwa Erua road because the immediate past administration failed to complete it. Beyond talking about all of these issues, shouldn't we also be hearing from the governor or the government of your states that preservatives in terms of preserving some of these perishables like the yams that we talked about, beyond the tomatoes, the peppers, and of course other grains. Shouldn't we be hearing him also talking about creating reserves for some of these opportunities to preserve this perishable so that it's still healthy, it looks good when people wants to buy them or export them? Is that not some of the things he should be making as a comment beyond political statement itself and some of the good intentions?
You see, you can't divorce yourself from the political climate. That's why
when you even look at economic policies.
When you look at economic policies, our stage of development is still a little bit low, although we are getting there. Now, during the last elections, I will still come to what you said. People are starting to ask, what has that man done for him to want to come back again? But if you now have a variety factor of, political something before you get to office, you probably get there with a fixated idea of what you want to do that will make a difference. That difference is that what that man has been doing before, I don't want to be seen to be part of it. Government is a continuum. Take the case of, take the issue of wanting to open up that road. It's a good, glad he knows that he's saying something, that road has been there for the last 30 years. I used to work in Ofiki, and for goodness sake, it will take me a whole day to get there. Now, it sees that, look, if I'm going to take something from that area, I need to get to that place. So, the political mindset has to change that. You may not like the face of the person who is there. Let me continue with what I feel. But at the end of the day, that's the challenge they have. People will say, has he done any new thing? Any new thing means abandoning the old one and doing a new thing.
We know that over the years there's always been this concentration on the urban centers when it comes to development. But Governor Makinde is also saying he wants to turn farm settlements around. How do you think he can achieve that with what we have in Brandazan now?
First of all, the intention is very good. Although Ibadan has about 11 local governments out of 21 in your state. But when it now comes to food basket, we had the farm settlements. We had the Fashola farm settlements. Iwo Road there, down there, where you now have our estates right now. Used to be something for the livestock. Okay, we had. Ilora had. Let me give you an example. If somebody like Amo, this man in Awe, Amo Sanders, who established a world-class agricultural enterprise even in the 70s or 60s, Amo Sanders, in terms of livestock, all those other things, that is actually because government was actually backing them to a large extent to ensure that they have the basic things to establish their own businesses, and they are still running. So what we are trying to say is that there must be a deliberate shift to have improve of the old farm settlements were patterned around Israeli, what you call kibbutz, whereby each one of them is a niche of its own. Niche means they provide education facilities, health, social welfare, agriculture. Government now acquires those areas and allow people to settle there. That's why you have farm settlements. Now we may not be able to do that innovation anymore, but we can modernize it. And that's where government will come in. They can say, okay, we now what to call land bank. That means we have 10,000 hectares in A, B, C, D areas. Come in, investor will give you on lease so that you can be able to do that.
Okay, I was going to ask that. Isn't the government working in isolation? Maybe it's just the wrong perception. Because I was thinking, as a matter of fact, the likes of the Agbekoya, the Association of Farmers, we should see them more in the news. How much more? Because he has said he has been visiting communities that are, in terms of agricultural products, they are viable. So he's been going to those communities, and Ibarapa appears to be one of those communities he has actually visited. What happens to the likes of the Agbekoya, those who are stakeholders really in the agricultural sector? How much more has he been able to liaise with them? Because he has his commissioners now who are supposed to hit the ground running. What kind of economic policies in terms of agriculture that he should be looking at, also paying key attention to the experts who are within this field?
The Agbekoya had political something, but basically it was a cooperative group. And that is the focus of modern agriculture. The idea of doing it alone, 1 hectare, whatever it is, when you form a cooperative group of whatever enterprise, government will be able to have a face for credit, it pays for technical advice, it pays for information like information of climate, it pays for, we are producing, you have what you call this Maize Association of Nigeria. It's like a big cooperative. Government supports them by giving them, in fact, you cannot get any credit from that if you are not within that group. So the Agric group came as at that time, it was a cooperative group of producers of cash crops in Onara. At least Onara, I think. But you know, they came to fall because when there was a political something at that time, and they were virtually the face of Western region in terms of we will not take nonsense. That means we farmers will not be subjugated to all this. So there should be a better government policy in terms of organizing cooperative groups for livestock, for fisheries, for any crop sector, for even credit. You have credit.
But the Agbekoyas, like you talked about being a cooperative, are we saying as a matter of fact that the government cannot actually tap into some of the things that they do in terms of their policies to actually help them in terms of agricultural policies within the state itself? They have been on ground for a while and they are farmers. Who are those constituting this Agbekoya? Are they just the yam farmers or the fisheries, those into fisheries? What is the constitution of the Agbekoya? And are we saying they are not relevant to the administration of agricultural produce in your state, for instance?
They are still very relevant because most of the farmers, they know themselves. They form groups, and these groups are, they are the targets of government. I was in Ondo State for a cocoa intervention about 2 or 3 weeks ago. There was a man there who had 1,000 cocoa farmers right under his Agbekoya in quote. Each one of them cultivating about 2 hectares of cocoa. So you can imagine. So it's not only just Agbekoyas. We have other people. You have cassava somewhere in this local government, Egbeda. Strong. What would they learn you to do is that government needs to now actually modernize them in terms of bookkeeping, in terms of membership, in terms of organizing meetings for them, in terms of interfacing them with all these research institutes.
And another issue that I would like to talk about is the government promised to explore public-private development partnership model to achieve its goal. Do you think this will have implications? What are the gains in there?
Primarily, everything will still have to be private sector assisted. That means government will now, if it is PPP approved, government can now say that, okay, like I mentioned earlier on, is proposal anyway, we have land banks of 10,000 hectares each available in major producing areas. Now investor come in, that's where the private sector now comes in. And that's the PPA approved. But government must actually, as the delivery policy, put in place certain things. If there are no roads, if power is erratic, how do you store? If you are a generator for most of the enterprises, you are producing something. So that's the role of government.
We really need to go to our legal studio, but before we go, looking at how fertile the soil here in your state is, how fertile, you are an expert in this field, and thankfully you're here in your state. How fertile are this land? Are they available to the farmers to actually do all the farming? We know that there are a lot of large sparse of lands, but are they available to the farmers? Are they fertile enough? Who tests them? Are there policies where you have instances where you have experts who go there to actually test some of these lands and tell us, for instance, that these are viable for agriculture, this isn't good soil? Is that not some of the things the government needs to actually look at?
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that one as a round of program. I'm a soil scientist. And the first thing we want to do is, how do you get land that will suit what I want to do? That's the bottom line. I don't want to reply, but what government should do is that some of these areas have already been identified. Like the old Western region, even as in the 60s, established the areas that were good for cocoa production during all times. So government now needs to move further. Identify the most suitable areas. Make sure those areas are now linked to investors. If I'm coming from US, for example, and I want to come to your state to invest in maize, 20,000 hectares. I want ready information on land, and that's where the role of government comes in. Soil testing, soil mapping.
We want to say thank you so much to Mr. Olatunji Ojola. He is actually an expert in the agri field and retired director from Federal Ministry of Agric. Thank you for being here. It's been a pleasant one on AM Cafe coming from Ibadan Studios. We just have to wrap it up and join our Lagos studios. My name is Bolabo Fimosko.
Until tomorrow, I am Anu Akomolafe. Have a very productive day.